The field of teams is dwindling quickly, and the quality of football just keeps on rising. Welcome to the Under the Lights podcast presented by SYNLawn. I'm Kyle Parmley, joined by Gary Lloyd. Gary, the high school football playoffs are in full swing, and man, we had some great ones last week, and we are assured some great ones this week.
Yes, we are. I'm looking forward to another week and another week where it seems to be unseasonably warm on a Friday night.
Yep, we're slowly trending down in the temperature department, but not getting there very quickly. But all right, before we get rolling into everything, I gotta talk about this team. Vestavia Hills has made the playoffs the last 3 years under Robert Evans. Every year they go on the road in the first round as a quote unquote underdog to a region champ or a road or a home favorite, and they just smack them around like they're a 5A team. And they did it again last week, beat Mary Montgomery, a 9-1 region champ down south. This Rebels team, I think they're getting hot.
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen Vestavia that one time against Clay Chalkville, but I'm starting to wonder, is it Charlie Taft that's the Vestavia quarterback, or is it Charlie Ward? Because the stat lines, I'm starting to notice some similarities, and I'm not too sure who we've got at QB there because they are playing just unreal football right now.
Yeah, Vestavia is on a roll right now, and we will dive more into that game and their upcoming round 2 matchup a little bit later on. I want to tell you about our friends at SYNLawn who have brought you the Under the Lights podcast all season long. You know it. SYNLawn is your go-to for all things artificial turf. Whether you're looking to upgrade your backyard, create a pet-friendly space, or enhance your golf game with a custom putting green, SYNLawn has the solution for you. With top-notch installations for both residential and commercial use and wholesale turf sales, SYNLawn Alabama is the premier choice for artificial turf in the state. All right, here's what you need to do this week. If you don't have any other plans, be sure to go out to their grand opening events this weekend. They've got a new showroom. So starting on Thursday, the showroom at 2018 Old Montgomery Highway in Birmingham will be hosting all these festivities. They'll be open 9 to 5. They'll be hosting lunch each day. So if you want us to go see our friends at SYNLawn, go check it out. Ribbon cutting, delicious food, prizes, discounts, event discounts, and much more. SYNLawn Alabama has got a lot going on. They've been a great partner with us all season long. So excited to see that later on this week. Okay, Friday nights, if you follow Under Lights 365 on X, you got all the updates. You saw some thrilling wins from the likes of, Spain Park, Vestavia. You saw some crushing defeats like the Hewitt-Trustful one. But that's where you see everything on a Friday night. Gary and I post stuff from our games. You need to follow us as well. But the Under Lights 365 account, you won't have to go anywhere else to find out what's going on in the games that we are covering. So let's talk about what we saw last week. Let's start with that Vestavia game. Vestavia Hills goes on the road to Mary Montgomery, which, if you don't know, that's in Sims, Alabama. It's a little bit north of Mobile, about 3.5 hours away from us here in Birmingham. Vestavia beat a 9-1 team, 42-21. You mentioned Charlie Taft's big game. They got Jacob Watson back on defense, and that seemed to be a pretty big deal as well. To be honest, the scoreline could have been worse. Vestavia jumped out to a 3-touchdown lead late in the first half, and a couple of mistakes here and there let MGM kind of hang around a little while. But man, this was all Rebels on. They played on Thursday night due to the chance of rain down there, but nonetheless, big win for the Rebels.
Yeah, no kidding. And I made that comparison a minute ago, but Charlie Taft passed for 244, rushed for 94, 4 total touchdowns on the road, and as a very young quarterback, he's been thrown into the fire this year, and this is a guy that we're going to watch for these next couple years, and maybe talk about as potentially one of the best quarterbacks we've seen at Vestavia in quite some time. So he's playing really well, and then that offense just kind of, to use a cliche, just kind of did what it's been doing. Running the ball really well. Bruce Littleton doing his thing. They had some receivers step up. Chase Webb, I know, had a big night. And like you mentioned, defense getting Jacob Watson back. I mean, he hadn't played, I think, since like mid-September or something like that. It's been a couple months since he's played. And, he steps right back in like he never left, leads the defense in tackles. And, we kind of joked last week about a 5-5 team on the road at a 9-1 team. It's an obvious pick, right? And I think we both kind of leaned that Vestavia Hills probably had the edge in this game, regardless of being 3.5 hours from home. They're just, Coach Evans has said they're more, battle tested has been kind of the word, the phrase, and that proved true. And I don't think we were surprised at all that they went down and did what they did at MGM.
Yeah, we're going to hear from that Vestavia perspective a little bit later on in the show. But yeah, you mentioned it. Charlie Taft, 244 through the air, 94 on the ground, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown. Bruce Littleton supplies the 2 other rushing touchdowns. Really impressive performance. So I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the schedule. Maybe it's the region. Maybe it's just loving that mentality of, hey, we're about to go on the road and upset some folks. But the Rebels are getting pretty good at it. They're going to have another opportunity once again this week. We'll preview that game here in a little while. So, yeah, big win for Vestavia. I want to talk about the game you were at for a minute because there was a lot going on at Waldrop Stadium on Friday night. Homewood beats Athens 31-24. They score a touchdown with about 4 minutes to go in the game to kind of go ahead for good. And that on the surface is enough to talk about a great game, but there was a lot more going on that went into that win for Homewood.
Yeah, I mean, so John Griffin, one of defensive back for Homewood, scary moment early in the fourth quarter. I think there was maybe about 9 minutes left in the game, and games knotted up, and we're watching one of these classic type playoff games, and who's going to win, and both teams were kind of executing, and then something like that happens, and they had to stretcher him off, cart him off, and it really puts things in perspective for sure. It becomes not about football. Like, I heard some people saying like, man, you could hear a pin drop right now. And you could. I was standing amongst the Homewood players, and, I was seeing guys that just different kind of faces, right? Like, there were certainly guys crying. I heard audible praying. Saw some guys just completely like almost glassed over in a way, and some guys who had this look of focus and determination, and all signs. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not reporting anything either, but it seems like John's going to be okay. A lot of precautionary measures go into something like that when you get into a hit that involves whether it be a neck, head, spine, those kinds of things. So he gave the thumbs up, and the crowd certainly cheered for that. And I think it really galvanized Homewood. Like I said, you had guys that reacted to that moment in different ways, but Homewood immediately forces a punt out of that. Athens had the ball at the time. Obviously, they force a punt a couple plays later. It pins Homewood back inside its own 5, and that Homewood offense goes 96 yards in about 5 minutes to score what ultimately was the game-winning touchdown. So it really galvanized that team, and it was quite a scene after the game. Cheerleaders, students running onto the field, just celebrating, and it was really cool to see. And just the game itself, Homewood got hit early. Athens scored on the first couple plays of the game. They ran a little halfback pass for 70-something yard touchdown, and it didn't phase Homewood. They came back and ran their offense. Will Myers was back in kind of a limited capacity. He ran some wildcat stuff. He even took a handoff or two. But for that Homewood offense, Caleb Carson was the story. He rushed for 3 touchdowns and threw one to Kylan Newell, and just a really good win, all things considered, against an Athens team that came down here and wasn't faced to play a playoff game on the road. They were a tough team and gave Homewood quite a test, and Homewood moves on.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Will Myers, Caleb Carson quarterback tandem there.
Yeah.
It seems like Homewood's got 2 really good options. I mean, either way, if Will Myers is kind of, he didn't have to go 100% out to win that game, maybe gets another week to fully heal up for Fort Payne. But Caleb Carson scores 4 touchdowns in the game and looks good doing it. So either way, the Patriots have got to feel good about what's going on there. So, yeah, crazy night at Waldrop. Inspiring effort to be sure, and reading about it was pretty cool to say the least, and how they responded from that situation.
Let's go win the game for him. You know, we love him so much and he loves us, so that's what we want to do. Right, you know, my mind was all over the place at first, but then I just know that our Lord and Christ Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, is with John right now, and he's going to be with him all of the rest of the night. And so I just know it's all in his hands, so he's going to take care of John, and he's got the situation under control. So I just was like, just give him all the glory, and we'll be fine.
Right? Yeah. You excited for the second round? Yes, sir, of course. Hey, we playing for my brother John Griffin, all right? Hey, everybody go play for him, please, all right? Hey, what is that?
So, all right. Moving right along, let's talk about one of the crazier games of the night. Baker knocks off Hewitt-Trussville 17-14 in double overtime. Both defenses were outstanding in this game. This game goes to overtime, tied at 7. It was scoreless at halftime. It's tied at 7 at the end of regulation. And in the second overtime, both teams score in the first overtime. Second overtime, Hewitt holds Baker to a field goal. They're thinking, oh, we got this. We're going to score a touchdown and go win. And then they get to the 1 yard line, and then it all goes awry. So a snap leads to a fumble. Hewitt never really gets a chance from a yard out to try to win the game. And man, it's that's got to be really tough to go from thinking you're right on the cusp of winning this game, and then you end up losing it.
Yeah, that's agonizing defeat, you know, and like we already knew that, you know, the lead up to this game, like we had talked about kind of ad nauseum with, you know, you're facing Juan Johnson, who was the offensive coordinator at Hewitt for such a long time. And, you know, so it's already kind of an emotional game in a way, you know, you want to beat them, but you're kind of sad for your friend too. And then to play that well on defense again, you know, this Hewitt defense all year was the best defense in Class 7A as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, to lose it that way on a tough snap and, you know, fumble it and not really have that chance after playing an entire season where, you know, you want a good snap and you want to run your play. And if you score, great, you win. If you don't, then you tip your cap, but to Baker, but to lose in that fashion that's going to, I imagine, take those seniors and, you know, that staff a while to get over. Just a tough loss there. And, you know, like I said, that defense would travel, and it did. Baker ends up scoring the most points against Hewitt-Trussville of any opponent that Hewitt faced all year, and it took 2 overtimes to do it.
Yeah.
So that might have been one of the top 2, top 5 defenses in Hewitt-Trussville history, maybe. It was really good, but give credit to Baker because they really limited Hewitt-Trussville and forced them into a lot of things, it seems like, that just didn't go Hewitt's way offensively.
Yeah, so tough loss for Hewitt, and that ends the season for them. Another exciting game on Friday night. Spain Park beats McGill-Tulane 44-35. And that scoreline doesn't even really tell the whole story. I mean, Spain Park jumped out ahead 21-7, I think. And I said something to the effect on X of Spain Park ready. They're going to roll in this one. And had a friend message me and said, hey, be nice. And apparently I was completely wrong because McGill came storming back. They took the lead. And then Spain Park had to hit the gas pedal once again. They even pulled a couple of trick plays out of the book. And made it happen. But, man, oof, I was not expecting 10-0 Spain Park to get that much of a scare from a 5-5 McGill-Tulane team.
Yeah, we are definitely in the throes of November. It is survive and advance. And, you know, I think that's what Coach Tim Vakaka said after the game was, you know, yeah, it's a 5-5 versus a 10-0, but, you know, our guys didn't flinch, you know, and they didn't. You know, they turned it over a couple of times and let McGill in the game, and then McGill looks like they're kind of in control. And this Spain Park team we know has had to overcome some games like this. You know, that Hoover game comes to mind where, you know, even though they've turned it over, maybe the offense is struggling, you know, for a series or two. Oh, we've got to score now, and then they do. You know, it seems like this team can just, when they have to, they do. and that's what they did against McGill-Tulane. And at the end of the day, you want to play better at home in a first round game against an opponent that you are clearly better than. But at the end of the day, it's in the win column, and you move on. And the running backs for them did what they have done for a while now. CJ Calley and Dakari Shanks have been unbelievable, and they were good again. Defense kind of stood up late when it needed to, and so it's a gut check win of sorts, but you came away with the win and you're moving on. You get to play another Friday, and that's really all you can ask for this time of year.
Yeah, over 1,000 yards of total offense in that game. And Spain Park had 312 on the ground. And Dakari Shanks, you mentioned 190 of them on his own. Whew, that offense is really good. So they came, I think they scored the last 20 points of the game, last 3 touchdowns to come roaring back. But hey, great win for Spain Park to go to 11-0. Let's talk about Mountain Brook beating Southside Gadsden 45-7. Spartans, man, they played some impressive ball the last month or so, and hey, they kept on running the ball and running some more. But 3 touchdown passes from Caden Hoffbauer to Archie Andrews is the highlight of the night for me. If they start pulling that out of the bag, the Spartans team can make some noise.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading this and I was like, Andrew scored 3 touchdowns. Of course he did. Then I was like, wait, Archie, not Stewart? So yeah, I mean, I think this is I think it's a statement win for Mountain Brook. I mean, I know we're in the playoffs now, but I think we knew Mountain Brook was probably the more talented team than Southside Gadsden. Just the schedule they face and the guys they have, that kind of thing, health, all of those things. But to go in there and do it the way they did it, like, am I a little bit surprised at the final score, 45-7? Yeah, a little bit. But the way they got to that 45-7, I'm like, oh, okay, they've been running it all year long. But if they're going to start pulling this out in the playoffs, and I've seen it in recent weeks, having seen them, against Pinson Valley, against Shades Valley, those are 2 definitely lesser opponents than what Southside is. But if this passing game is going to start clicking like this for some big plays as well, and now they get to go home for a playoff game against one of the best teams in 6A, Mountain Brook is definitely on the radar right now, and that'll be a game to watch this week. But if they're doing it rushing and receiving, and you've got to defend all facets of an offense that really seems to be peaking right now, scary team.
Very much so. All right, another game. Hoover beats Fairhope 35-10. This was on Thursday night. If you look at the stat sheet, Hoover thoroughly dominated this game. And when you do that and you still talk about after the game, hey, there's plenty of stuff to clean up. We can still get a lot better. That's kind of scary because Hoover held Fairhope to -20 rushing yards total for the game. And the offense was solid. A.J. Allen, 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. J.R. Mosley had 83 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Mac Beeson hit Jeremiah Tabb for 2 touchdowns through the air. Just a really thorough performance from the Bucks, and they will move on to the second round.
Yeah, that's kind of what I said last week. This felt like one of those games where just a very business-like approach, go in, take care of your business, and that's what they did. And, if they're making, that running game has been really good, defense has been really good, but it seems to be a different receiver every other week kind of thing. So if they're making these explosive plays to guys, we know Jonah Winston, we've seen Hunter Purdue, now Jeremiah Tabb, Mac Beeson's got some weapons, and yeah, like you said, scary going forward. If they play that consistent ball, take care of the ball, and defense keeps playing well, who knows where we might see Hoover here over the next few weeks.
All right, Clay Chalkwell beats Gadsden City 33-3. I was out at this game, and it was kind of I don't know, it's strange. 30-point wins usually feel a little differently than that. This game it started off, Xavier Starks returned a kickoff for a touchdown to begin the game. It was a little sky kick, which most teams usually do that to kind of ensure or defend against a return, and Starks just took it to the house anyways. And then Clay's offense did their thing. They scored, and in the second quarter, they moved the ball and got stalled a couple of times, had to kick field goals. And then in the second half, the defense just dominated. Torrey Page returned an interception for a touchdown. So I don't know. Like, this Clay Chalkwell offense is moving the ball, but they're struggling to consistently capitalize. The defense played outstanding on Friday night. The special teams solid in all facets. So I don't know. I mean, I will say, head coach Stuart Floyd definitely was complimentary of his team after the game in terms of how they responded to what he called he didn't like the heart that they showed in that Vestavia game. And he saw that in practice in response to that and thought they played with that on Friday night. They got to clean up some mistakes and be a little more consistent.
Yeah, I think you maybe got to see a little bit of what I've been talking about these last couple of times I've seen them. I mean, when I saw them at Oxford, and Oxford is an elite team, but then also seeing that game at Vestavia, and we know how Vestavia is playing, but just so much seems self-inflicted in a way, and kind of that not capitalizing, inconsistent deal. But that's the most like lackluster way to get a 30-point win in the playoffs, where you come away going, I don't know, usually you win a playoff game by 30 points. You're like, we're good.
Yeah.
But, to win it that way. And I don't know, they're kind of a confusing team in a way right now, but at the end of the day, we know what Clay Chalkwell's potential is. And if something clicks and they hit that potential, there's no limit to where they can go. But right now, I think that offense has got to really find some consistency in the passing game and in the playmaking game, because I think maybe you saw it too, but I think what you're getting with Aaron Osley and Joshua Woods. I think they've been the most consistent guys all year long on that offense. But other than them, you don't. It's kind of a mixed bag. You maybe don't know what you're going to get week to week. But if they start clicking and start hauling in these passes and not backing themselves up behind the chains, then yeah, they're a team to be reckoned with. But as it stands right now, I kind of worry about them week to week.
Yeah. And here's a little bit more of what head coach Stuart Floyd had to say after the game.
But I thought they responded well this week with practice and the competition, and we got punched in the mouth pretty good last week. So we had to check ourselves a little bit. And so, the week of preparation was really good. I thought, starting fast was pretty important for us. I didn't think it was going to be on a sky kick, but whatever. But, I mean, you get special teams touchdown, defensive touchdown, offense, we're just not playing. Both sides aren't firing at the same time. And so, hopefully, we got another week next week and we can maybe play better.
All right, one final score on playoffs week 1. SYNLawn beats Chelsea 42-3. That will wrap up the Hornets season with a 6-5 mark. They weren't going to beat SYNLawn. SYNLawn's a really, 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 really good team. But Chelsea, 6-0 start. You got to feel good about where that program is going heading into next year.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to end the year on a 5-game skid, but you checked a lot of boxes that you haven't been able to check in recent years. You do have a winning season. You do make the playoffs. You find confidence, in yourself as an individual on the team, and confidence in the guys around you, and that we can do this. So ultimately, I think this is definitely a successful season for Chelsea, and hopefully we see more and more of that moving forward.
All right, so that is your recap from last week. Thanks to our friends at SYNLawn for bringing you that and the show all season long. All right, Gary, time to talk to our guest this week. We've had a few weeks off trying to get everything jammed into a show, but let's take a moment to talk to a player this week. Glad to be joined today by Vestavia Hills football player. We've got Spence Hanna in the room. Spence, thanks for joining us. The first thing I want you to do is kind of explain to us your role on the Vestavia defense. A lot of times, you can be listed as a safety or a DB or whatever, but kind of explain to us what you do in that Rebels defense.
Yeah, I've really played like basically a linebacker and a safety. Just depends on the defense we're in. It's funny, but half the time I'm back deep, and then half the time I'm literally in the box as a linebacker fitting in the run game. And I think we haven't done that in the past, like with our safeties, but that's just my strength because I'm more of a linebacker than I am a DB. And so Coach Evans just puts me in the box and lets me play.
Is that hard to keep up with, like play by play, what you're supposed to be doing, or do you pretty much have it down pat at this point?
No, I mean, I'd say like now I'm pretty used to. I mean, because we have a ton of calls. Like I'm sure y'all know, our defense is super complex. But like depending on the call, I mean, I know, I'm pretty smart with the calls, and so I know when I'm supposed to be in the box, when I'm supposed to be back, and I like being in the box better. Like I wanted to play outside linebacker this year, but they wouldn't. They made me stay at safety. But so I've kind of talked him into letting me come in the box and be a linebacker, and so I mean, I love it.
Take me into practices last week and even what you've seen the last couple years. I mean, this is the third straight year that Vestavia has gotten into the playoffs and then gone on the road as like a road underdog in quotes, if you will. And you guys have gone and beaten a team pretty convincingly that either won its region or was good enough in their region to host a home game. So what is it about this team that's so confident in going on the road in the first round of the playoffs?
I mean, I think it really just shows like how hard our region really is. Cause like a lot of, I mean, I think MGM was the 1 seed down there.
Yep.
And we're the 4 seed in our region. So I think it just shows like, I mean, how like especially like the schedule we played this year. I think the hardest schedule in the state for sure. And then if not one of the hardest in the South, honestly, with all the teams that we played early on. And so I think that it really just shows like, especially like the past years. I mean, we've done the same thing. It just shows like really how hard and tough our region is. And so once you played through our region, I mean, you can play anybody else in the state literally. And so I think it really does show when we get to the playoffs.
How big was it last week having Jacob Watson back? He's been out for a bit. Like, just how big was that having him back, and how intimidating is he? Because I saw a video of. I mean, he's got like the neck roll. He's got the eye black everywhere. He looks like a daggone warrior out
I
there.
know. Yeah, no, I mean, it's obviously, I mean, it showed in our run game last week, or like defending the run game because, I mean, we've struggled a little bit. I mean, in the big games this year, like stopping the run, especially up the middle. And we had great younger guys step up when Jacob was out. I mean, but Jacob's, I mean, he's a great player, and so it's obviously a big difference when he's back. And he's intimidating. I mean, I would not want to run right up the middle with him running at me at all. And so, I mean, he's just a huge guy, and so it's really hard to run up the A gaps and the B gaps when he's right there because he can get off blocks. And I mean, he's stopping you at the line. You're not hitting him back. He's hitting you back. So I think it's definitely huge, and that'll be big this week for stopping the run against him.
Tell me about the growth of this defense throughout the year. I mean, you mentioned it. Like I mean, I remember, being at that Hoover game and Hoover, quite frankly, just kind of beat you guys and were able to run the ball at will and kind of own the trenches there. But this is a team that like y'all didn't have many returning starters on that defense. And then you mentioned the schedule that y'all played this year. There wasn't a whole lot of easing into things either. So how are you guys able to kind of take where you started? And you've battled injuries, you've battled a tough schedule to get where you are right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just shows like as our defense as a whole how tough we are. We have I mean, yeah, we did struggle. In games we have struggled, like you said, the Hoover game. Like, I mean, they were just more physical than us. And I think we realized, I mean, Vestavia, obviously Vestavia is always like this. You don't have the size that the other teams do. But I think we know how to play. Like our D line, they have all the shifts and all the movement up front. It's just we got to do like work with what we have, and I think Coach Evans does a really good job planning on that. And like our defense, we've had like 2 big injuries. Cross Tonsmeyer and Jacob have basically missed most of the year. It's great to have Jacob back and Cross is out for the year, but like it's just showed like the next man up, like the younger guys have stepped up, which has been huge for us. And then people like me and Grayson Bruno and Yates Pan and other seniors that are leaders on the defense also had to step up in big ways and make plays. And I think we did that too. And I mean, I think we've gotten progressively better each week. And I think y'all could agree with that. Besides maybe the Hoover game was a bad game for us, but we've definitely gotten progressively better each week.
Yeah, and that like both of y'all mentioned that Hoover game, and I wasn't at that one, but I came and saw y'all the next week at home against Clay Chalkville, who I mean they're they're a top 5, top 10 Class 6A team, but they've had their struggles, but they are still a physical team. But y'all kind of matched and even exceeded that physicality against them. How do you grow physicality during the season? Is it just a mindset thing? Is it just a want to kind of thing? Like, where does that kind of come from?
Yeah, no, I definitely say a lot of different things go into it, but yeah, one would definitely be just a mindset thing. Obviously, you just got to want it more and be more physical, just like than the other team is, and you got to want it more. And then another couple of things is I think our offense really helps us when they're doing good because they're going so fast that they're. I mean that's really big for us when they're going fast and scoring because that keeps us off the field first of all, and so we get the breaks. And I mean, our practices, like we're going fast like we do. Right now it's probably slowed down a little bit, but like the whole beginning of the year, like we have pace and we're going fast at practice. And so I think we're in really good shape compared to other teams. And so I think that's huge for us is when the other team, maybe the other line's getting tired, our D line, and we rotate guys, so our D line's staying fresh. And yeah, just wanting it more and just being fresh out there. And then also like Coach Evans has been big on this part of the year, like practices are shorter and like more like you really want to preserve your body right now because like right now in this part of the season, you can either like be like physically just like done with it, and just shut down, or you can stay fresh. And I think that's what Coach Evans is big on. And that has really helped us, I think, these past 3 games.
Who has to tackle Bruce Littleton in practice?
Oh, we don't tackle him. We get yelled at if we tackle the offense, but I'm thankful he's on our team because I would not want to have to tackle him.
No, I wouldn't either. Like
He's
Coach
huge.
Evans told me he was like Mike Allstott from the Tampa Bay Bucks. Like that's I don't know if you've ever seen, old like VHS or something like
Mhm.
that of him, Spence. He's a little before your time, but yeah, he is a bruiser.
Yeah, Bruce. I mean, I don't even know. He's probably 225, 6'3". I can't even imagine. We haven't played anybody like that, thankfully. But yeah, he's been great for our offense. I think he's been, I mean, the biggest part of our offense. Him and Charlie and
And
Luke
he's got a
Stubbs. But
mid-90s fastball to boot.
yeah, yeah. You don't want to face his fastball either. Trust me. I've had to do that before.
Yeah,
What I wanted to ask that. What is it about this seems like it happens more at Vestavia Hills than any other school I've seen. What is it about baseball guys being successful also at football at Vestavia? Is there something about baseball that helps y'all out with football?
Um, I would say it's just growing up in Vestavia, like me, like most of the good athletes, like grow up playing baseball, basketball, football. Like I quit baseball sophomore year because I just didn't enjoy it. But I mean, like all the best athletes are playing multiple sports throughout, like starting at kindergarten all the way to now. And so I think it really just shows that like the best athletes are on baseball. They're also on football. I don't know if it's more of like baseball helps out football. It's just more the best athletes play both
Yeah.
is what I would say.
tell me a little bit about a bit about what you've seen from Charlie Taft this year. I mean, thrust into the starting quarterback role as a young guy, and he's really grown into it as the season's gone. And I mean, you tell me, it looked like he played one of his best games of the year last Friday night.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, it's crazy. He's literally 15 years old. I mean, it's crazy to me how good he is. And I just think that he's gotten better. Obviously, he started out, I mean, he struggled a little bit at the beginning of the season, but we all knew, like, just from practice how good he could be. And I've been saying that since the beginning of the season when I had interviews. I was saying he could be better than John Paul. And I know if John Paul was a great quarterback, but I think by senior year, Charlie, I think he can be really good. And he's been really good this year, but I think everyone kind of forgets that he's literally 15 years old and he's not a senior 3 year starter. And so it's still, I mean, that just makes it even crazier because, I mean, he's a great athlete. Like he's even better at baseball, I think, than he is football. And so, I mean, it just shows like how good of an athlete he is to be out there sophomore and just like he's gotten so much better and he's athletic. He can run and he also has a really good deep ball.
Wow. What do y'all have y'all really started in earnest on Central Phoenix City, and what do you think a road trip there is going to be like?
Yeah, we started filming. We had like a 4.5 hour practice yesterday since we were off for school, but yeah, we've watched probably 2 hours of film already. They've sent out all the cut ups on them. I mean, trust me, Coach Evans does not let us under prepare for a team. I mean, we literally do walkthroughs literally till 5:45 on Friday nights before the games. Like we probably have 50 walkthroughs during the or during the week, and I mean, Coach Evans gets us ready. But yeah, no, they're a great team. Obviously, their offense. I don't know about their defense, but their offense has athletes everywhere. But so is 6 of the other teams that we've played against this year. So I think that's huge advantage for us is the schedule that we've played, obviously, because I mean, other teams around Birmingham might be 8-2, 9-1 to finish the season, but like they haven't played anybody, so I really don't see the point in that. But like I love the schedule that Coach Evans made for us because by the time when playoffs comes, like it matters who you've played and we're battle tested. And so I mean, Central's a good team, but I mean I think we're all really confident about the game.
Awesome. Have you ever been down there? Have you ever played a game at Garrett
No,
Garrison?
I haven't, but I was on a visit at UNA this spring, and I talked to the quarterback, and this is before we even knew that we would even have a chance of playing, and he was just telling me how their games, like how crazy they are. I've heard they're super hype. He said the whole city comes on Friday nights.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Well,
fun.
I would say it's Kyle's favorite place in Alabama, so he could tell you all
Oh,
about
really?
it.
Yeah, no, I've got some good friends down there. I love going down there. You'll get to see this, but I call it Waffle House Stadium. When you're standing, you'll see this when you're standing on the visitor sideline, over the home bleachers, the Waffle House sign sticks up. So
Really?
yeah, no, it's a pretty
Right.
cool scene. It's different. The stadium's not on campus. It's a little bit off, and yeah, it's just kind of the town's right on the other side of the road. So
I've heard it's kind of like Auburn type atmosphere because that
yeah,
was a great atmosphere. That was such a fun place to play.
yep. It'll be a fun time on Friday night. I'm looking forward to being down there to see the game. But Spence, no, we really appreciate you joining us, and yeah, best of luck on Friday night.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on here. Enjoy it.
Big thanks to Spence Hannah for coming on with us this week. Good to hear from the players' side of things as the Rebels will take on round 2 this Friday night. One more thing before we roll on into round 2 analysis. Top performers from last week, Gary. We had a few of them. You guys voted. Underlights 365 on X is where you see this poll. If you sign up for our Saturday morning newsletter, you get a chance to vote in it right off the bat to be one of the first ones to cast your vote for who you think had the best game the previous night. Here's the 4 we had this week. Vestavia Hills quarterback Charlie Taff, we talked about his night. 22 of 28, 244 yards through the air, 4 total touchdowns, 3 of them on the ground. Great game. Homewood's Caleb Carson, a little bit of quarterback, a little bit of receiver, 4 total touchdowns for him. Spain Park running back Dakari Shanks, 26 carries, 190 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then Mountain Brook wide receiver Archie Andrews, 125 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. And Gary, drum roll, please. Charlie Taff from Vestavia Hills is your player of the week. You guys voted. Congrats to Charlie. I mean, he was outstanding on Friday night. So, or Thursday night, I guess is when they played. But player of the week, Charlie Taff. Time for round 2. So, all right, Gary, this podcast brought to you by SYNLawn Alabama. Our game of the week this week will be at Spartan Stadium. The Parker Thundering Herd paying a visit to Mountain Brook. A little bit of deja vu. These teams played game 2 this year. Mountain Brook led at halftime. Parker kind of dominated the second half. The thing that I'm most interested to see in this one is Mountain Brook is different at this point of the year, and from the standpoint of, I feel like the first 5 or 6 games of the year, Mountain Brook was trying to figure out how to put 4 quarters together. They'd play 2 great quarters, 2 not so good quarters. They were struggling to find that balance, and I think they found it, especially over the last month or so. Really playing good football from start to finish. And as we saw last week, maybe they have a little bit of a passing attack now that can put a scare into some opponents. But they will certainly have their hands full against Parker. Parker's 9-1. Their only loss was to an out-of-state team, right?
Yeah, out of Georgia, yeah.
Yeah, so this Parker team has been one of the top teams in 6A all year long. Mountain Brook is certainly the underdog heading into this one, but you feel like they've got a shot based on what we saw them do early in the year against Parker and what they've been able to do the last several weeks.
Yeah, and I think if memory serves, we probably said that 7 podcasts ago about you lost the game to Parker, but you probably do take some confidence from playing a team that has so many national recruits, and they're all over the place at Parker. And you had them kind of on the ropes for a while, and then you run out of steam. Their talent kind of takes over, that kind of thing. But like you said, this is a different Mountain Brook team right now. If that passing game is improving like it has, and it's been really really good. I shouldn't say improving. I mean, it's been kind of electric, really. And then what you're getting in the running game, and with that offensive line, like we've talked about forever for Mountain Brook, you've got a real shot. I think the key here is this Mountain Brook defense. To me, guys like Hampton King and some of these other guys on this defense really playing kind of their most flawless game, because there have been times where, as much as we talk about this Parker defense and what they can do against a Mountain Brook offense, I think if this Mountain Brook defense can hold a somewhat inconsistent at times Parker offense, if you can hold them kind of behind the sticks and force them into some passing situations, we've really seen Mountain Brook come up with a good bit of interceptions over the last month or so. So to me, that's what I'd be watching in this game. If you can force Parker into some throws that they don't want to make and come up with some turnovers, and maybe create some short fields for yourself and see what happens. But to me, that's what I would be watching this Friday night.
Spartan Stadium is the place to be for that one. That'll be our game of the week, but it's not to say that was a runaway choice. We got several good games on the slate this week. Let's stay in 6A for a few more moments. Homewood is traveling to Fort Payne. I was a little bit shocked to hear that Fort Payne came back and won this game. They played Pell City in the first round, and Pell City went up 17-0 before Fort Payne rallied for a 24-23 win. So the question for Homewood is, can you refocus? How much is health a question? We talked about the injuries they had last week. And how do you kind of refocus after such a like you use the word galvanizing? How do you come back down to earth and refocus for a road trip this week?
Yeah, I don't think that part will be too difficult. I mean, it's the playoffs. It's the cliche win or go home. So I think this team will be laser focused. I think it's more about what you've got in the tank physically. We did see Will Myers out there, at quarterback running some wildcat, even took a couple handoffs. So I think he's a question mark there. Like, do I think he'll play? Yes. What capacity will he play in? I have no idea. But I think that's kind of the intrigue of a game like this too, is because we've seen Caleb Carson has proven that he can lead this offense under center or in the shotgun these days. And I think that's something that might keep Fort Payne and Coach Chris Elmore kind of up at night this week, is what are we going to see from this Homewood offense? Like, are they going to split reps? Will they be back to just Will Myers, 100% doing his thing, and Caleb's on the outside? Are they going to put Will Myers at running back? Is Caleb going to play quarterback? Is Caleb going to play wide receiver? There's just so many things about this Homewood offense that I think an opposing team has to prepare for. And I think this Homewood defense is, they showed some vulnerabilities Friday against Athens. Athens hit on some big plays. Defensive coordinator Freddie Lawrence jokingly told me I can no longer say it's Freddie Lawrence season after their performance against Athens. We were joking around a little bit, but I think that defense probably has some things that it's going to work on this week for sure. And I think you're going to see a really locked in Homewood team on the road. Now, what that amounts to, I don't know, but I'm definitely would not be surprised if Homewood travels north and comes back home with a win.
Yeah, you mentioned Fort Payne coach Chris Elmore. For those of you that have been around this area for a while, Elmore coached at Chelsea several years ago. Took that Fort Payne job in 2018 and has been there ever since. And this team coming in, they are on a 9-game winning streak. They lost their first 2, had a bye date, and then they have been on fire ever since region play got going. So this is a hot Fort Payne team. They know how to win, and we'll see how that one goes on Friday night. All right, Gary, let's talk about a 7A game real quick. Hoover at 9-2, hosting a 9-2 Opelika team. This game, I mean, I wish I was going to be at it. I wish I could be in multiple places on Friday, because this game, either one of these teams is capable of winning the state championship, and one of them's going home in the second round. So, Opelika under first-year coach Brian Moore has had a resurgence. He has done exactly what they brought him to Opelika to do, and this team has gotten some great wins this year. They've beaten Enterprise and Central, who are both still alive in the playoffs, and their only losses are close ones to Auburn and Carver Montgomery. So Hoover better be ready. But at the same time, Opelika is coming up here to play a Hoover team that's playing its best ball of the year right now.
Yeah, I think the Hoover Met is going to be absolutely rocking. I think our guy Chandler Fullman and the rest of the Bucks faithful are going to be really, really loud, and I think by Saturday morning they will not have voices left. So it might be a good thing for Chandler as an Auburn fan, but I digress. But I think physicality is the key in this one to me. Like, I've read a little bit about Opelika's got this guy, fullback, Blake, let me make sure, Blake Johnson, and I think they call him the Hammer. And I'm just going to say, in this game, you do not want to be the nail. So I think physicality is absolutely the key here, a trenches kind of game. The way Hoover, the way you saw them play against Vestavia Hills, I think you're going to need that type of effort, because, like you said, either one of these teams are capable of winning the Class 7A state title. And I think this is going to be one of those knockdown, drag-out kind of games. And, yeah, I mean, I won't be at this game either, but I wish I could clone myself, because I would love to see this one in person as well, because I think it's going to be all time.
Going to be fun. So, Opelika beat Florence 43-7 in the first round. So, and then let's see, Spain Park. Let's talk about their game this week. 11-0 Jags hosting Russell County at 9-2. Russell County, kind of out of nowhere this year, right? I mean, the record the last several years is no good, and then all of a sudden they're rocking this year. They beat Northridge last week, and so they'll make the trip to Jaguar Stadium, and Spain Park hopes to have a little bit easier time of things this week.
Yeah, I would love to know what turned that around. Coach Dylan Griggs, we've kind of known of him at times. He's been an assistant at Pinson Valley. I think he's been at Central Phoenix City as well. He's the head coach at Russell County. But yeah, like you said, kind of out of nowhere, and they score the ball, man. They're scoring like 40 points a game. So that Spain Park defense that had some trouble with McGill Tulin this last week, they're going to have to be on their toes against Russell County, because they like to score the ball. But I think this is a kind of a get right week in a way for Spain Park. I think maybe the weights moved a little harder in the weight room on Sunday, as Coach Vikakis likes to talk about. So I'm looking forward to being out there for this one, not having seen Spain Park this year, and kind of see what they're all about. And I don't know. In a way, the more I looked at this last night, the more I think this is a really good game for Spain Park. I don't think Russell County is necessarily incredibly tested, and I think Spain Park has been a bit more. When this Russell County team faced Pike Road, the best other team in their region, they lost 46-14. Now that's just one game, but I think Spain Park's been more consistent, and I think we'll see. I think we'll see Spain Park play one of its better games Friday night.
I know I've heard that some of the Spain Park defensive staff listens to our show, and I just have a feeling that they are going to take what happened last week and know that Russell County comes into this game averaging 40 points a game, and somebody like me would look at it and go, well, there's Russell County's chance right there. They're going to have to make it a shootout in order to win. And Spain Park defensive coaches will probably take that as a challenge of, hey, we're going to show people what we're made of. And I'm kind of like you. I've got a feeling that Jags defense is going to show up on Friday night. So
Yeah. So Coach Arrington, when you see me out there Friday night, let me know that you listen to this podcast. All right.
Absolutely. So there's the Jags preview. The game that I will be at on Friday night, Vestavia Hills, heading to Central Phoenix City. Central's 8-2, Vestavia 6-5. The Rebels, we talked about at the outset, how they are the road warriors when it comes to the playoffs. They know how to win away from home in the postseason, and they'll get another chance to do that against a good team, a really good Central team. Maybe not as good as the state championship team from last year, but the program that Patrick Nix has down there is always one of the top ones. So I don't even really know like which matchup is the key one in this game. Like I don't know. Like I just see two really good football teams that are going to go at it Friday night at what I affectionately call Waffle House Stadium. I'll be sure to shoot out a picture of it. I do every time I'm down there. It's a great place to be, and I'm excited to be there on Friday night.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about these matchups and stuff, and, it's like I'm not a football coach. Like, so if I say a key, it's just something that I'm talking about, like that I want to watch, just like from seeing some of these teams. And one like this, you're right. I think it's so much like I just want to see this best on best. Like we know how Coach Rob Evans, they're going to run what they run, and they're going to execute it the best they can. And so we kind of know what Vestavia Hills is bringing. I don't know much about this Central Phoenix City team this year, but I know that Vestavia won't be fazed by playing another road game at another top 5 opponent. So I'm just more than anything, I just want to see. I kind of want to see what this defense does. That like getting Jacob Watson back last week, we talked about it earlier in the show, seemed not just like, okay, you got a key cog back, but he came back and played very, very well and had a real big impact on the game. And, while it was at James Clemens and, Central was clearly the superior team, they still put up 70 points. So what can this Vestavia Hills defense do against that Central offense? I'll be very curious to see that, because I think we know what we're getting with this Vestavia offense and what they're going to try to do.
We'll talk about the 7A bracket a little bit more later on, but one final game to preview: Clay Chalkwell heading to Muscle Shoals. This is the second year in a row this playoff matchup has occurred. Last year it was in the 6A quarterfinals. Clay Chalkwell won by 17. Stuart Floyd indicated that he thought Muscle Shoals have a little bit of a chip on the shoulder based on Clay beating them in the playoffs last year pretty good. So we'll see. This Muscle Shoals team is pretty impressive to me. They make the playoffs every single year. This is like 16 years in a row, and they always seem to make it to the second or third round. So I don't know. There's something feels a little bit different about this Muscle Shoals team. The offense is averaging 43 points a game. They've got some pretty cool. They've got some good wins on the slate this year. So the thing to me, if Clay Chalkwell plays up to its standard, they'll win. If they play like they did last week, I don't know that they win. So they've got to find some things. If that offense starts clicking, watch out. But if it doesn't, they could be. It's going to be a tough game if so.
Yeah, I guess I'll just do it. I'll just provide some bulletin board material. Why not? I think if that Clay Chalkwell offense doesn't find what it needs to find, I think they're going home this week. But I'm not saying they're going home. I said I think if they don't find it, let me qualify it, because I think that Clay Chalkwell defense has played really well. And Muscle Shoals, I mean, yeah, like you said, 43 points a game, but this Clay Chalkwell defense has played really, really well. And I think they're going to have to play probably their best game, give their offense a real chance to find that consistency that we've talked about, and, have their best game that maybe they haven't played in maybe a month or so, really. I went to this game last year, and that Muscle Shoals Stadium, I mean, that's a tough place to play. Mm-hmm. And Clay Chalkwell went in last year, and Jalen Mbakwe went crazy throwing the ball. They still had Corey Barber at the time. Jalen threw 5 touchdowns. I don't think this is that type of game. I think you're going to see pick their spots for trying to hit some explosive plays and really lean on that Aaron Osley, Joshua Woods combo, and try to slow that game down a bit and let your defense work. But if they can't hit those big plays when they need to, and move the chains like that when they need to, I think it could be a tough night. But like we've already said as well, if this Clay Chalkville team finds that one thing that clicks, it's look out. So don't know what to expect. Could see it going either way, but I think it's going to be a really good game.
All right, I fully expect to see these quotes plastered on the locker room at the Clay
I
Chalkville
expect
Fieldhouse.
nothing. I will get text messages as you people hear this week.
Yeah, I'm sure our friend Josh Cheek will be listening while he's supposed to be supervising his classroom.
Sorry, Josh. Just
But-
hey, use it.
Absolutely. So anyway, so there's what we've got. That's what we'll be covering for round 2 of the playoffs. All the games should be on Friday this week. No threat of anything crazy weather-wise at the end of the week for now. But Gary, let's do our goal line stand this week. Our friends at SYNLawn, don't forget about them. Great partners all season long, bringing you this show. I just want to kind of look at the playoff bracket, give any musings, thoughts you may have about it. Let's start with 6A. We'll throw the 6A bracket up here on the screen real quick, courtesy of our guy Jeff Allison at Alabama 6A football. Just kind of looking at it, if you look at the top, Pike Road is playing St. Paul's this week. Hueytown's playing Spanish Fort. Out of those 4 teams, I think St. Paul's and Spanish Fort are out of the same region, and I'd expect both of them to win this week. Spain Park, if you look at it, if they get by Russell County, they're looking at a matchup at SYNLawn, which is going to be, wow, what a game that'll be. And then the bottom half, you got Oxford and Hartselle, big time matchup this week. The winner of that gets the winner of the Homewood game, and then the bottom 2, Parker Mountain Brook, Muscle Shoals, Clay Chalkville, they would all match up with each other in the quarterfinals. So, what kind of stands out to you this week, Gary? I mean, we've talked about, we've got a 6A team in 4 of those 8 games.
Yeah, I think just my just gut reaction is the North has more depth than the South, and it kind of stinks that, assuming these teams win, that we're going to have a quarterfinal matchup potentially again of Spain Park at SYNLawn, because that's a state championship caliber game,
Sure
obviously, and one of those, if that ends up the matchup, regardless, one of those teams is not even going to make the semifinals. And so to me, that's what kind of stands out is these teams that are left in this second round in the North. I mean, every matchup to me is there's no dud there. Like Hartselle at Oxford, that's the helmet matchups, right? These are quality teams. So like a Hartselle at Oxford, crazy intriguing. Homewood at Fort Payne, that's intriguing for us just to see what Homewood can do, like we've talked about. Parker at Mountain Brook, we've talked about. Play at Muscle Shoals. So we've got teams in 3 of those 4 games in the North, and then don't know at all what to expect, like you said, out of the South, other than probably a Spain Park SYNLawn matchup. But man, week to week, this thing is going to be crazy, and I think either SYNLawn or Spain Park has a real path here, the winner of that potential game.
I agree with that. So 6A will be fun. You mentioned the depth of the North. I'm so impressed at Region 1 down there. Like SYNLawn's great, obviously, but St. Paul's and Spanish Fort have both just been outstanding this year. And I don't know if a lot of people pegged that preseason. So all 3 of those teams could very well be in the quarterfinals, and we'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah, especially St. Paul's, like, being the 3 seed out of Region 1 and having to come all the way up to Helena. And, we've talked about it with multiple coaches and players across our area about, Helena is a difficult place to play. It's an interesting place to play. And for St. Paul's to travel all the way up here and not just to beat Helena, but to shut them out in their building, that says a lot. So, yeah, that I think you're right about that Region 1. I think it's past SYNLawn is really, really sneaky good. Better than you think.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's now shift over to Class 7A and talk about it for a little bit. We'll put the bracket up. We've talked about the bottom half of the bracket. Vestavia at Central this week, Hoover hosting Opelika, The winners of those games will play each other in the semis next week. Don't forget 7A's got one less round, so they're a round ahead. They're technically in the quarterfinals this week, even though you call it second round. But I could easily see any of those 4 on the bottom half being in the state championship game. Now, the top half, I think Auburn is the favorite there, but Auburn's got a dogfight with Thompson this week. And then you think Enterprise would beat Baker. I don't really know. I think the winner of the Auburn-Thompson game is more than likely heading to the state championship game.
I agree. I think Auburn's the best team in 7A and has been all year, and they get that game at home. So I would definitely lean Auburn over Thompson, but Thompson at home, they said we're still here. I mean, they're clearly better than Daphne. They played them in the spring game this year to start, but 50-0. Yeah, I mean it's Thompson season when it gets to the playoffs. So they'll be looking to kind of go down to Auburn and show what they still are. But I would lean Auburn there. But yeah, that other side of the bracket to me, that Vestavia at Central, Opelika at Hoover. I mean, can we please just cross our fingers for a Hoover Vestavia semifinal game with the right to go to the state championship? I mean, I think if that happened, do you think that might end up game of the week?
Maybe,
See what else is out there.
No, I think you would. I think you'd be right on there. Yeah. When's the last time Hoover and Vestavia met in the playoffs?
Oh gosh, I don't know off the top of my head. Let me see. This might take a minute, but
yeah, see if I can pull it up real quick. I wonder if we can go back in time and find the. Didn't I say something outlandish about Vestavia in their playoffs last year or something?
You said I forget the number of years. You said in the next 3-4 years they'd win a state title.
Them all the credit because that program is on the cusp of doing something special, and I am going to go ahead and go on the record and say this. And if I've told a lot of people this in confidence, so might as well just throw it out there. This program is going to win a state championship within the next 3 or 4 years. They're coming. So Vestavia, really good first year for Robert Evans. I'm really excited to see where they go from here.
Now, so
I still believe that.
I mean, they're proving it. I mean, so the last time Hoover and Vestavia met in the playoffs was 2015 in the second round at Hoover, and Hoover won 24-0.
Looks like they played in the playoffs a handful of times, and Hoover normally wins that matchup. Vestavia beat them in 2007 and in 1980.
Yeah. Can we get a game in the playoffs kind of like that? This is weird. We need to go back and look this up. But 2003 they played in the semifinals and Vestavia won 31-24 in double overtime. And if I'm looking at this right, it says the game was on a Saturday. So I'm wondering what that was about.
Interesting.
Let's just all make this work.
Ooh. Yeah, that would have been after the Go Crazy Cadillac Iron Bowl. That was a fun night.
I don't remember that. I don't know.
And on that note, that's a wrap for this week's Under the Lights podcast presented by SYNLawn. A great walk down memory lane. And yeah, we're gonna create some great new memories this week, Gary, because the second round is shaping up to be a great one. Be sure to follow us. I'm at Kyle Parmley on X. Gary's at Gary A. Lloyd. Under Lights 365 is the Under the Lights account. You can follow us on X, on Instagram, on Facebook. We're all over the place. Got content coming out all week, getting you ready for the games on Friday night. So, Gary, it'll be a lot of fun. Enjoy your trip to Jaguar Stadium this year. Tell all the folks over there I said hello. And I'll be going to one of my favorite places on earth.